Good afternoon. This is the House Judiciary Committee. It's the 18th of March, a little after 2 o'clock. We have to be on the floor at 2:30. We are secondary on a bill and it flew under the radar. It's House Bill 1019 and the committee sent a copy of the interlineated version of the bill to everyone over the weekend. Could I ask Claire, please, to give an overview about what the bill does as amended by the Health and Government Operations Committee?
So this bill has to do with petitions for emergency evaluation, which are when a person is having a mental health crisis and somebody, either a healthcare provider, say they're a psychologist or a law enforcement officer or their family member, is concerned and wants them to be taken in for an emergency mental health evaluation at the hospital. And that is actually a civil proceeding. It's not a criminal proceeding. Anyways, the bill authorizes a court. Well, let me back up. Currently, if I want to file a petition for my family member, I've got to file a petition with the court and go to court. There's a hearing. And then if the court, and then there's criteria that the court has to look at. And if the court decides to grant the order, they grant it. And law enforcement has 5 days to go get the person. That's current law. And so if the police cannot get the person in 5 days, then I've got to go file another petition, go through the whole process all over again. And so that was one of the main purposes of the bill, because that's really burdensome for a person and it takes a lot of time. And so they wanted to kind of streamline that process. And then the second reason for this bill was, there was a task force in Prince George's County that was looking at this issue because apparently there's a number of people who this happens to a lot. They have mental health issues and frequently people file for them to have these evaluations. And it's like a revolving door. So they just wanted to have a task force to look at that. The second big problem was that the police were unclear as to what level of force they could use to take these people. And because often these people are combative, not always, but sometimes they're combative and, it's dangerous for the police. And according to Delegate Alston, who's the sponsor of the bill, at least 2 police officers in Prince George's County were killed in this situation. So those were the 2 big problems that the bill was trying to solve. So anyway, what the bill does as amended is it authorizes a court on motion to extend the effect of an endorsed petition for emergency evaluation by 5 days for good cause shown based on the presenting behavior of the individual for up to 5 days at a time, not to exceed a total of 30 days. So if the police can't find the person within 5 days, and sometimes they can't, because a lot of times these people know that their relative is trying to get them for an evaluation and they hide or they're homeless or something. So if they can't be served within 5 days, then I can file a motion with the court and the court can renew the effectiveness of the petition for up to 5 days at a time. And this can happen a total of 6 times for a total of 30 days.
Also a difference from when the bill first came in. When the bill first came in, it indicated that a peace officer may use reasonable and necessary force when executing a petition. The amendments from HGO changed that to a peace officer may use force in accordance with 3.524 of the public safety article, which is where we address the issue of the use of force for police officers. So it brings it into the same place as what we did in the last term on police reform. Delegate Conaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is the nature of the relative? What do you mean by relative? Who can initiate this filing? I mean, we're talking spouse, we're talking mother, we're talking child, we're talking aunt, uncle, we're talking friend.
That the bill doesn't change in current law. I think it's called an interested person. I can quickly try to look for that, but that is not, the bill is not changing that at all.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
I've got that. We'll take the favorable motion. Is there a second? All right, and we'll continue discussion. Delegate Kaufman. Please.
Yes, this is a question for Ms. Rossmark. My question is, so each time a police department wishes to extend it 5 days up to 6 times, do they have to go back to, say, Judge Clippinger every 5 days and see this is why we want to do it? You know, we still haven't been able to find Larry, and do they have to explain themselves, or is it automatic?
They have to file a motion, and they would probably explain in the motion, you know, the police weren't, you know, tried to find him, but they weren't able to. And, you know, if there's any other information, they would put that in the motion.
Thank you.
Delegate Williams and the Vice Chair.
Yeah, only thing I had, it was actually 2 sheriffs in Prince George's County
Okay.
that got killed in this situation, which is what prompted the sponsor to put this bill forth. And I know that our sheriff's department in Prince George's County, I believe, is supportive of the bill.
The Vice Chair, then Embry. Balance.
I wanted to just make one minor amendment to the amendment. And it might be easily done, and that is in the preamble. I don't think, or in the purpose paragraph, I don't know that it was caught on the reasonable and necessary force. It still says reasonable and necessary force. So I guess, I mean, that's
Okay.
that's an easy fix, right?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. That's
right.
technical.
Yeah, and so the other thing was on page 2, I believe that one of the benefits with the language that's written with the motion, and this is kind of going to Delegate Kaufman's question. This way it allows the defense counsel to have information as to why the extension is necessary. I believe that they were saying that before, with just the way things were, it wasn't always apparent for them to be able to see why the extension was necessary. So as amended, it allows it as a motion so that they can actually be present, and it's a motions hearing.
Delegate Embry.
Just a question, and Claire may be able to answer this, but I don't understand what based on the presenting behavior exactly means. Presenting where, who's describing it, what? Or what the purpose of the amendment was.
So we've tried to get counsel here from HGO and they're unavailable right now. So Claire is
I'm sorry.
not at a great disadvantage, but at somewhat of a disadvantage and I will say that was a question that I had too, based on the presenting. Basically leaves it to the judge to determine based on what the presenting behavior of the individual is, whether they would be able to extend it or not, or grant it or not, it appears. There's another question that I had when I believe that there was an initial amendment that required the police officer to use de-escalation. And I just have to remember whether that's already within 3.524 of the public safety article.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about that in the police reform, that they needed to use de-escalation, and so I think they used that as a belts and suspenders there.
Okay.
Ugh. I thought I saw more lights, but sometimes. Delegate Carden.
Mr. Chair, first of all, just in terms of process, Claire, you may or may not know this. So every 5th day, you'd have to ask for an extension up to 30 days. You'd be able to get extensions. Do you do it on that 5th day? And do you have to, like, I guess, do they set up the hearing immediately? Like, what if the 5th day is on a weekend? Like, I'm worried about that if it's a 5th day and you have to wait until that 5th day to file it because you don't know if you're going to need it until that 5th day. What if the judge is not available? You don't know. Okay, that was question number one. And question number two is, with the amendment, changing it to the part of the use of force part, the FOP is good with that? Is that, they wanted that, or is that, do we know, or do we not know?
Well, I actually talked with my, I didn't talk with my police officer. I talked with my, CRIT, crisis response team. Yeah, who's connected, with the police. And, they were fine with it because, we already have it. We've already vetted it. It's normal language. So they were fine with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What about a case where you're talking about a married couple and they have one of those blowout arguments and one says they're going to leave and the other spouse hasn't seen this person for the 5 days, but other family members have been in contact with the person? What about that? Yeah, if you say.
So what's your question? What, the question is when they get served. So if it depends on when the officer is.
Yeah,
gonna
but I'm
serve them.
saying, why should you be able to, if you haven't seen the person for 5 days and they haven't been able to be served in 5 days and they've had no contact with you for 5 days, then why should they be able to extend it for the additional time? Let's say you just
Because they
leave.
want to serve them with the order. Because it's one of the people who fall into the category of being and I think I'm getting this right, by a doctor, psychologist, clinical social worker, licensed clinical professional counselor, a clinical nurse specialist in psychiatric and mental health nursing, a psychiatric nurse practitioner, a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist, health officer or designee of a health officer or peace officer. All of them can request the order. And so am I getting this right? Then they can't find the person in order to serve it. Then they want to ask for another 5 days because they're still trying to track the person down. That's the point of that part of the bill.
Okay, this is not about the interested party.
No,
Wait,
well, okay.
We'll see. That's what I heard.
Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, if it's a healthcare provider or a peace, they call it a peace officer in this section of the code. They don't have to go to the court. They can just file the petition and give it to a law enforcement officer, but an interested person, it's called an interested person, and that's not defined. Presumably it could be anyone, like let's say it's my neighbor and I, had some facts. You'd have to put it in the petition. It could be a relative.
And then, so
could
if it's your
probably be
neighbor,
anybody.
so I just want to be clear. So if I'm not trying to cut you off, but if it's your neighbor and you file this petition, they can't serve the petition on the person for 5 days, then you could go back and you haven't seen your neighbor for 5 days. Your neighbor could go back and refile again 3 or 4 more times up into a month, right? Is that what we're saying?
Right, if the court and,
If the court accepts them
to
filing.
grant it, yes.
Yes.
Delegate Kaufman.
What was the vote in HGO? Do we know that?
It's unanimous.
Thank you. That's my final question.
Any further questions? Again, we're secondary on this, so that we're just taking this with the HGO amendments. Any further discussion? Any final discussion? Seeing none, the vice chair?
Yes.
Yes. Munoz?
Yes.
Yes. Crutchfield?
Yes.
Yes. Carden? Yes. Sample Hughes? Yes. Embry? Yes. Pasteur? Yes. Tolles? Yes. Schmidt? Yes. Simmons? Yes. Boucher? Yes. Phillips? Yes. Roberson? Yes. Tomlinson? Yes. Simpson? Yes. Grammer? That's not here. Moon? Yes. Valentine? Yes. Conway? Yes. Kaufman?
Yes.
Yes. Williams?
Yes.
All right. We'll send that up to HGO. That concludes our business here for this afternoon, and off to the floor we go.